and we're here with a very special person, an icon from the city of Cleveland, Ohio, Gene Schwartz. Gene, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about the history of how you got involved with the cars. And I know there's a lot of musical elements that are involved too, because we want to hear that. Our audience wants to hear that.
Well, I threw my bicycle away when I was 12 years old, and my dad had bought a brand new 52 Chevy, and when I was 15, he gave it to me, and that was what I worked on. He ran the six-cylinder at first, put dual carbs on it and headers, and ran up and down Lakeshore Boulevard. Then I decided to put a Chevy small block in it. I started racing at the track. First time I raced at Thompson was 1960. In 1962, somebody named Joe Rutka came up to me, and he says, "Hey, Gene, I want you to race with me." And that's where it all started with Speed Specialties. Mr. Gasket, me and Joe Rutka to this day are still real good buddies. I talk to him all the time. But we went on, raced our cars at Indy every year. I won Indy in 1966, and I held the E-Gas national record from 64 to 67. In 1964, I set the E-Gas national record at Muncie, Indiana, the NHRA event. And then in 1967, I reset the national record at York, Pennsylvania, US 30.
And what was that record? Did you give us a time on it?
Well, in 64, I set it at 12:48. It was 12:86. I knocked it all the way down to 12:48. Actually, in 1963, we were going faster than the national record, but they didn't have a record run. It was too late in the year. So 64, we got it and held it to 67. And then in 1967, when I was at York, Pennsylvania, I lowered it to 12:34, which was really fast back then. And I had one time at Bluegrass Raceway in Kentucky, which isn't there anymore. The car went, I think it went 1198, which was, really, really fast for a 3,700-pound car with a 288 with a Super T10 4-speed.
Well, how fast is fast? Just for our audience. So you're talking.
The speeds were around 112, 113. That's all. The car weighed, almost 3,800 pounds. With a little 288 cubic inch small block. That was screaming back then. But we were known for our high RPM launches. And a record came out, Sounds of Indy, in 1964, and we were on a 33 1/3 record. They actually produced it and set it out, and it's the Schwartz brothers, 1964 at Indy, and you can hear the motor on the starting lineup. It sounds like it's 12,000 RPMs, but it was probably like 9 or 10 back then.
Well, that's a trivia question for our audience next time you know, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, anyway, so we kind of know what drew you to the make and model of the vehicle, and you still have that 52 Chevy that you have at the show.
I basically got the original car. I had to add parts and build some new things. It had been stored for so long. I got another car and pieced them both back together. But you can say it's the original car that when I was 12 years old, I used to ride in the back seat. When my dad bought it brand new at Donner Chevrolet, 140th and St. Clair in Collinwood.
Well, so you realize that you had the bug, as they would say, in for racing, for car collecting, the obsessive behavior you have. You still have it, and you carry it over into other areas with your behavior. Correct? I mean, you're a musician too.
Oh, the music thing came in. My brother started playing guitar when he was 11, and eventually he got to be such a great guitar player that Jimi Hendrix was the best in the East and Glenn was the best in the West back in the late 60s. And I had been racing. I set national records. I won Indy. I did everything I wanted to do. My brother called me in 1968. I was older then. and said, "Why don't you take lessons and learn how to play the bass?" Learned how to play the bass in 1 year. I was reading music and everything. 3 years later, I met Robert Lockwood Jr. and became his only bass player for 34 years. I traveled all over the world with him. I played the Lincoln Center, Kennedy Center, Wolf Trap, San Francisco Blues Festival, Chicago, Canada, Japan 3 times, all over Europe, Italy, Norway, Switzerland, Germany, Spain, you name it, I've been there. And it was a nice ride. In the year 2000, and his name was Eric Rath, he's from Parma. And I had no clue who he was. He says, "Can I build a car like yours? Can I do a clone of your car?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't care. You do whatever you want to do." 2 years later, I think it was 2002 or 2003, I was playing at Hoople's down the flats. He pulls up in this 52 Chevy, exactly like my car, national record holder. He had it all lettered, Mr. Gaskin on it and everything. And I says, "Geez, I'm getting the car out of mothballs." And I redid the car, and here I am. I've been racing it now since 2004, and this is 2018. I'm actually racing longer now than I did back when I was a kid.
Well, that's the thing. You have it in your blood. That's what the obsessive behavior does to you. You can never give it up. You can never give it up. It's part of you. It's part of your innate behavior, and keeps you young. Keeps you young.
I'm still having fun, you know.
That is a very important part. Having fun.
Yeah, we're at Thompson every year for the Nostalgia Reunion. It's always the first weekend in June, and then we have another reunion in September. And another thing about Thompson is my good friend Ken Edgar, we went to Collinwood High School together, and here he ends up owning the track. When I started putting my car back together, I had no clue he bought Thompson. He owns the track, so everything just kind of fell into place for me. I got a nice good friend that owns a racetrack. I got a car. I can go out there and race anytime I want to. It's just a lot of fun. And I built another car, and I got to give a lot of credit to Ron Hutter in Chardon, Ohio, because he did all the motor work for me, and he's been one of the main people that's really helped me out with my project. And the Landys brothers, Keith Landys and Bob Landys, their brother Eon, they helped me out in his name. He got killed in an accident at Englishtown. I think it was around the year 2000. And when they heard I was putting my car back together, they knew me back in the 60s, and Eon used to come out to the track and watch me. So they've been sponsoring me and helping me out a lot. Nice people, all of them.
Well, you've been awarded 2 awards here in Cleveland at the IX Center during this show. And could you just briefly tell us or show us what you have here?
Well, here's the one.
Gene Schwartz, 2018 Tony Hill Lifetime Achievement Award from the state of Ohio. And he just received this from the city of Cleveland, a proclamation to Gene Schwartz in recognition of lifetime achievement. So this is very special too.
I have another car in the show here. I bought a brand new at Keith Waggle Motors in Euclid, Ohio in 1967. I bought a brand new Chrysler New Yorker, TNT 440, 2-door hardtop, air conditioning, power windows, the whole 9 yards. I still have it to this day. I got pictures of the car towing my race car to Indy in 1967 in the pits at Indy with the front bumper off with a pushboard on it. It was a brand new car then.
Well, congratulations, congratulations. Well, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. I know you're really busy, and
I'm never too busy for this.
Well, we appreciate you telling
anybody out there that's interested, my brother Glenn, the original James Gang member, Pacific Gas and Electric, lead guitarist. We are the Schwartz brothers now, and we play locally in Cleveland. We'll be at the Beachland Ballroom or at Hoople's or different venues around Cleveland. You would probably be interested to come out and see us play. We're still really blues rock, really doing it up. You know.
Well, years ago when I used to try to go in to see the James Gang, you could never get in. So now's the time to get in and get close and get to meet you guys.
Oh, and my brother just recorded about a year and a half ago in Nashville with Joe Walsh and the Black Keys. And they played at Robert's one night right next to Tootsie's in Nashville. And then 2 months later, we went to Coachella, California, 200,000 people. And Joe Walsh and Glenn and the Black Keys played. I was there with them. Yeah, it was really a great time.
Well, thank you, Gene. So I'm going to ask you to let the audience know that you are a car idiot forever. Admit it.
Oh, yeah, I admit it. You got me. You got me. I'm crazy.
Car idiot forever.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, I'm Bernie Goliath. I'm the chief car idiot, and I will see you at caridiotsforever.com.